Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. So in our last video, we talked about building our Jeep into the ultimate bug out vehicle. And I got this comment that I kind of wanted to touch on and also kind of explain a little bit more about what bugging out actually means. So Denise writes, bug out where? No details, but unless you have someone who will let you bug out to their property, then you're in trouble. No one is going to allow a random person just to bug out on their acreage. So preppers who promote bugging out are doing a disservice to folks. First things first, your plan, your preparedness plan, should never rely on other people. And it certainly should never rely on random people that you don't know. That should never be a scenario in your head to where you think you're just going to show up to someone's house. I'm not even sure. I'm going to be honest with you that this comment is kind of like, it's kind of blown my mind a little bit because I have never thought like to just show up to someone random house and like expect to bug out to their land. So I've said it once and I've said it a million times. You are more likely to face a localized, temporary event than you are to be in some sort of situation where you're going to have to survive in the woods for the rest of your life. So one of the most recent realistic things that I can think of is a couple of years ago in Ohio where they had that chemical spill where that train had crashed and all those people within a certain mile radius had to evacuate their homes. So evacuate is just another word for bugging out. So if you had all your things ready to go in your car, you are a lot more ahead and a lot more safe than someone who has to spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour getting everything ready to go and get out of the area. Another recent scenario would have been Hurricane Helene. A lot of those families had to bug out. They had to leave their homes. Whether it was staying in one of those FEMA houses or going to a nearby neighbor's house or family member's house. We even had people come down here to stay in hotels. So those are still bugging out scenarios. So when we talk about like building your bug out vehicle, building your bug out kit, preparing your vehicle, adding supplies and gear to your vehicle, there are a lot of other situations too that don't even have to do with anything bugging out. So for instance, I can think back to a couple of years ago where there was a flood and a young woman was stuck in her car and she had enough time to call her family and tell them goodbye, but there was not enough time for emergency vehicles to reach her and she was unable to get out of her vehicle. The water was rushing in. I think the electronics had failed. She wasn't able to kick out any of the windows and she unfortunately passed away. So that was one of the clicky moments for my head to where I was like, we need window breakers in every car, seatbelt cutters in every car. And so, you've got to think about scenarios like that, practical, real life scenarios. So when you're thinking about, building your Jeep or building your vehicle, that you have real world gear. Another thing that may pertain to our life and not yours is that we do overland. So we may get us out somewhere. There's been multiple times where we've gotten, not lost, but like gotten a little too deep in the woods and we've decided to camp. And because we already had the Forerunner prepared for that with a tent, blankets, pillows, freeze-dried food, we were able to just say, okay, I'm not going to worry about trekking through this woods or driving through the woods in the dark. I already have everything I need. I'm prepared. And so we've camped out overnight, without having to worry about, do we have everything? You're forming your bug out plan. You always want to think in terms of yourself and your family and your area. So do you live in an area that's more prone to hurricanes where you would have to leave your home for 2 or 3 days at a time, up to a week at a time? Do you live in a desert where there are no trees, but there's a lot of sand? Do you need a shovel? Do you need, some sort of recovery gear to get your car out if there's a lot of rain or if you get yourself in an area, where your vehicle gets stuck? Do you live in a city where you'll only be on paved roads? So you've really got to remember that. I would say to start thinking about bugging out or as more of an evacuation plan versus like some like doomsday where you're going to end up at some random stranger's house hoping they'll let you camp on their land. So I know a lot of y'all that watch me, this is probably just basic information, but I do think that thinking like this and this like only thinking about the end all be all doomsday type scenarios, or why our society is not as prepared as they should be, and they're not as prepared as they used to be. But if you're new to prepping and you are just now thinking about your preparedness plan, your bug out plan, how you should prepare your vehicle, think practical, think real life, and we'll see y'all in the next one. I don't know, this comment just kind of threw me off, because I have honestly never thought about just going to someone random's land and camping out. And maybe it's because I live around a lot of federal land that I'm like, I would just go out further, deeper into the Appalachian Mountains on federal land. I just never have thought about like someone else's